This small English garden has bird feeders, for birds naturally, except that the local squirrels think that the feeders are for them, and they'll relentlessly chomp their way through whatever seeds are put out and try and stop the birds from getting any for themselves. As far as the squirrels are concerned, these are squirrel feeders. The only thing that stops them is force majeure and the fact that the seeds run out. But as soon as they're replaced, on we go. Interestingly, when the birds feed on the seeds, they, especially the goldfinches, create a little ecosystem where fallen seeds feed a whole range of other animals. With the squirrels, it's just me, and nothing much else gets a look in. And over time, the feeder itself is getting battered by the squirrels and will eventually fail. Hard to explain to a squirrel whose one aim in life is to promote squirrel life. We humans behave very like the squirrels, as we chomp our way through whatever the planet has to offer. This planet is for us. It's a human feeder. And just as the squirrels give no thought to anything running out, so we humans seem oblivious to what we're doing. We just carry on consuming and battering the planet. But the fact is that the planet is not infinite, nor are its resources, nor are its flora and fauna, and nor is its ability to absorb the impact of nearly 8 billion and rising human squirrels. So the question we need to ask is whether our consumption, plus the pollution and the waste this produces, is sustainable. And the simple answer is, no, it isn't. Our planetary ecosystem in which all things exist will degrade and mutate. And if we damage ecosystems in which we humans live, we destroy their ability to regenerate the things we need to survive, our planetary feeder. And if our planetary feeder gets broken, our prospects look bleak. Our way of life is simply not sustainable. At current levels of worldwide consumption, we're already getting through the equivalent of 1.5 planet Earths. If all countries consumed at the level of the most developed nations, we would need 5 planet Earths. That's a lot of seeds. And there's only one planet, not 5. And of course, any discussion on sustainability also has to address the fact that nearly half of the world's population is still currently living on less than $5.50 per day. Regardless of environmental imperatives, it's impossible to argue against their desire to live more comfortable, affluent lives and to take themselves out of poverty. For these people, it may seem self-evident that increased wealth will equate to greater happiness and well-being. But it will certainly mean yet more growth and higher consumption, with all the corresponding pressures on the environment that this will entail. The focus of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, their SDGs, is precisely on how to ensure that all further growth is sustainable. The UN states that the SDGs recognise that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. Admirable from a human perspective, but any such development, however sustainable, must be combined with a corresponding reduction in our overall environmental impact so that we can return to living permanently within the safe operating limits of the planet. Otherwise, from the point of view of coral reefs, rhinoceroses and bees, it's quite possibly a death sentence. And the irony is, in a world which is no longer able to support coral reefs, rhinoceroses and bees, we're heading for ruin too. Collateral damage. So the message to underline now is that sustainable living perhaps needs to become the overarching goal for humanity and not sustainable development. The poorest half of the world needs any further growth to be highly sustainable. The richest half needs to focus on how our lives can be enhanced, not by endless increases in wealth driven by consumption, but by improvements in our well-being and life satisfaction. And all of us, every one of us, must understand our place in the wider scheme of things. We need to aim for sustainable living, growth or no growth. Currently, we primarily take as parasites do. Our host lives on our planet, but is getting progressively damaged and denuded. We need, in fact, to become less like parasites and more like bees. Bees are wonderful. They feed themselves and create their next generation while pollinating plants and trees to enable these too to flourish and grow. Not only that, they also manage to feed us, and honey bears, with their honey too. If bees can do it, if they can live in harmony with the rest of the planet, why can't we? So, it's our planet, but it's not just ours.